All right, everybody, good evening and welcome. It's hard to believe, here we are. It's March already, and welcome to March 3rd, the caucus meeting for this month. We're going to go ahead and start out with just some of our elements of just some of our basic processes here and procedures. We're going to go over some items that are current right now for the May 10th board meeting. These elements could certainly change. But before we do so, we're going to go ahead and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. All right, now we're going to jump into some of our items for personnel on March 10th board meeting agenda to date. Looking at personnel, we have one intent to retire currently, and that's Mrs. Cheryl Gross. Her intent to retire from elementary school librarian, and we thank Mrs. Gross, and we look forward to being able to honor her and her years of service. She's been with the district for 14 years. We have two employment for March. We have Amber Gearhold in the position of paraprofessional, and we ask for you to waive Board Policy 405, anti-nepotism, to improve Shannon Ward for the position of middle school emotional support teacher for the 26-27 school year. We're very excited about Mrs. Gearhold and Mrs. Ward joining us here at the Black Hawk team. Looking at some agenda items that covers personnel, diving right into some agenda items, some motions. We have a motion for your consideration of the K-12 guidance plan, as well as a motion to consider some fund balance commitments. It's that time where our fund balance commitments are considered as well. And those fund balance commitments are going to stay. Our recommendation is for those fund balance commitments to stay the same in those categories that they were last school year. And we're looking for your approval of the capital area intermediate units operating budget. We have some curriculum maps on the following subjects: high school mathematics, which includes pre-calculus, calculus, consumer math, probability and statistics, as well as middle school English. So thank you for all of the hard work from the teachers and administration on those curricular maps. We have a motion to approve a donation. I'm excited about this, for $10,000 we received from Pilot. Pilot has a Miles of Smiles for Good program, and they remodeled a store located just here in Duncannon, and they reached out, and because of a quick application we were able to submit, and their kindness and their foundation, they were able to give us $10,000, and that $10,000 is $5,000 for the middle school library and $5,000 for the high school library to be able to update furniture for collaboration, small group discussions, and we appreciate that, and all of that will go to good use. And that rounds out some of our agenda items at this point. So any questions on some of those agenda items to date? We're going to transition into some discussion items. We're going to go ahead and start out, Mr. Markowitz, with some athletic updates and discussions. And Mr. Markowitz, a microphone, please.
All right, so it's the beginning of March, and we are still going strong with our winter sports. So we have an update here on the first slide, just what's going on with the winter. So bocce will be competing tomorrow in the regional championships at Juniata College. I will be there for that all day. The opening ceremony begins at 11:15. So we're really excited for them. If they qualify there, they'll be participating in states. So we'll get the info out for that. Girls basketball. They qualify for states and will be playing Saturday. It will be at Ben Franklin High School at 1:30. It's right in Philly. And the send-off will be Friday for that. And I believe Mr. Funk, 8th period for the girls' basketball. Girls wrestling. So Kaylee Dayhoff is a regional champion. She got first place for 124 pounds at the regionals this past weekend. She will be competing at the Giants Center. So Thursday, she's going to wrestle at 2 o'clock. From what I just found out, if she wins Thursday, she'll be competing Friday. I will be getting updates throughout. I'll also plan to be there on Friday. So I'll send out updates and let everybody know how she's doing. Her send-off will be tomorrow, and that will be around 2:15, somewhere around there for Kaylee. But, regional champion is fantastic. New program. Girls wrestling is something we're trying to get to build, and this is a huge accomplishment for the program. So junior high football, I want to talk a little bit about that. So this past season, honestly, we probably couldn't have had a better season, to be honest, with everything that happened. We had 34 total rostered players. Going into this, we were just hoping for 20 to 25. So to get 34 was a bit of a surprise, but a good surprise. We were at a record of 3-5. Mind you, we played 3 5A schools and 2 6A schools. So we had a very tough schedule. And as the season continued, you could just see the improvement. We had 0 academic ineligibilities the entire season, 0 after-school detentions given out for the team. 75% of the team is participating in the off-season workouts. Tremendous public support. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about the program, and I know our coaches have as well. People are coming to them, donating money, money for meals for the kids. They are really into it. They really like to see what our junior high program did, and they're really proud and they want to be a part of it. The parent committees are working very well together. For junior high football, the boosters had to finance everything, and they really worked hard together to fundraise and have those funds to do that. So the parent committees are doing a great job. Junior high players participated in varsity games, so they were, ball boys or water boys, but they were on the sideline. And that's the type of collaboration, the connections we want to make between programs. So just overall, just a tremendous year for the junior high football team.
Is it okay if I ask questions throughout, or I'll forget?
What? Go ahead. Yeah.
Thanks. Appreciate all of this, by the way. 34 total rostered players. What grade level is that?
7th, 8th, and 9th.
7th, 8th, and 9th.
Correct.
And now, when you said junior high players participate in varsity games.
Yep. They're on the sidelines helping out.
So I guess my question is, I thought, and again, I plead ignorance. My junior high player is either a junior high player or a varsity player, correct?
Correct.
So for junior high players participating in varsity games, it's not possible for a junior high player to play in a varsity game.
Oh, no, they're not on the field.
Yeah,
no.
so that helped me out. Can you define?
They'll help with the water. They'll help get the game balls ready. They just like to get involved and help out on the sidelines. So they don't get.
I have 2 women trying to answer for you.
It says that they are ball and water boys.
Well, that was it. That's all they were. They were ball and water boys.
Yeah, that was.
But not
yeah,
participating in
that was it.
athletics.
Yeah, they were, and they listen. Great cheerleaders too. They really listen. The junior high boys were really into the varsity games on the sidelines, sometimes showing more energy than some of the high school players. So, they just give a lot of energy and really pump up the boys on the sidelines. So they just like to be around it. It's a cool environment for them. So
Thank you. And I
just
did
like how
plead
that was.
ignorance, but I was still mocked by my peers. So anyway.
We've read it. Yeah. Novel concept.
I could read. My comprehension is not real good.
So looking forward to
Thank you.
2026. So we had junior high football signups. They just began last week. Right now we have 7 athletes for 9th grade, 7 athletes for 8th grade, and 18 athletes for 7th grade, which is very promising. We want to get them involved, especially the 7th graders, to build up their skill for when they finally come up to the high school. Again, this is very early in the process. The estimated number we're looking at is a similar number to last year, between 30 and 35 total players. The estimated number for the entire program, so if you look at junior high and high school, is anywhere from 65 to 75 total we're looking at for next year. Not looking at JV yet. It's something that, if our numbers continue to grow, it's something we'll talk about. But right now we're trying to just get our varsity team ready to go and make sure we have enough depth and enough numbers. So just overall, the importance of a junior high
hold.
Yeah.
I can't see you. So,
Oh,
so
sorry.
does that mean those ninth graders, either you're anticipating that they are not going to play on varsity, they would only be playing on junior high?
I would say, again, you can't tell 100%, but a majority will be junior high.
So that number could change based on, because this is just people signing up, and if so, so basically right now the numbers look the same, but that could totally change in kids who drop out and or ninth graders who end up moving up to varsity.
100%.
Okay.
100%. Yep.
Do we have any idea, like I see, like 7, 18, what, do we have a lot of returning eighth graders that are now freshmen that are playing? Do we have any idea, like, how many eighth graders it was last year and this year it's ninth graders or vice versa? Like, how many students are,
Yeah, give me.
because I got, part of the idea is just to get more students playing, right? And so I was just wondering if that, and I know it's early, but.
No, you're good. Let me just pull up the roster real quick from this year. Okay. 1 second.
And I guess to follow up on Ms. Walborn's question too, do we have an idea on the number of varsity players we have if none of these freshmen are deemed someone that we want to play on varsity? Do we know what that number looks like?
We're right now for varsity, and again, it's still early, but right now, from most of the players returning last year, we're looking at somewhere between 25 and 30 right now from the varsity that will be playing varsity next year. So
That's
it
not
looks
in-
like eighth graders, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We had 9 rostered last year. Seventh graders, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And ninth grade, we had about 11 or 12.
How many seniors do you project on the varsity team this year?
Say about 8 to 10.
So, sorry, I'm getting confused at the numbers now. So ninth graders this year across both varsity and middle school, what was that number?
So last year, rostered between the two, we had 17 ninth graders. Now, 4 of those ninth graders, I believe 4 or 5 of those ninth graders played up at the high school level. They played the varsity level.
So you had 13 that played junior high.
And
And
again,
this year coming up, I'm sorry, I didn't
No,
mean to
you're
interrupt you.
okay, you're
So
okay.
this year, the 2026 numbers is the total number of ninth graders that you had sign up total, or?
So again, it's really early, and some people, if they're a ninth grader or they played junior high last year as an eighth grader, they might not have signed up. They might, we're coming back. So like you deal with that a little bit. So
Okay.
the numbers just, from what we're estimating, from what I spoke with all my coaches on what we're looking at, the estimated number that we'll have for junior high is between 30 and 35 players.
Yeah, I think, so I guess what I'm trying to figure out is that ninth grade number, the estimate, is that estimate the total number of ninth graders you're gonna have that you may divvy some up to varsity?
Correct.
Okay, so whereas this year you had 17
Yep.
ninth graders, next year you're looking at having 7.
Well,
Potentially,
again,
give or
yeah,
take, but like,
exactly,
okay.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
And this is just the numbers. And again, we started last week, so I'm sure the numbers will change. But this is just really early on. This is what we have so far with the data.
But
So-
wasn't the junior high program, the pretext was specifically for ninth graders that weren't quite ready to, be varsity and have to stand on the sideline, hold practice dummies, to keep them available to play games. And it turns out nearly half of the freshmen last year got moved up to the varsity. This year you have 7 ninth graders. Majority of the team consists of 7th graders that could play at the midget level this year and last year. How is this benefiting the varsity program?
Well, I'm confused half. We only had 4 or 5 come up to varsity last year. It wasn't half of the ninth graders, 4 or 5. And it was really to help our varsity numbers. Our numbers were a little low. These kids were a little bit more skilled and ready to go and evaluated by the coaches, and they were asked to move up and play at the high school level. So the biggest thing was that we had to fill some spots at the high school level because our participation numbers were pretty low. So that's why we moved some of those ninth graders up. But a majority of the ninth graders were junior high last year.
Based on what you just said, I'm assuming that unless some of these ninth graders are really amazing, you probably won't need to bring up as many freshmen, because that sounds like you have a pretty large senior group of seniors playing.
Yeah, and again, it depends on what the needs are of the team. It depends on the positions. It depends on the size. It depends on the experience. So things change. But I know that the freshmen that did play last year, many of them actually played a pretty significant role. They weren't just on the sideline. They were actually playing and starting. So again, you're going to have that. Now, if our numbers were a little different and a little bigger, and we had JV and varsity and junior high, I don't think you'd be seeing as many ninth graders going up and playing up at the varsity level. You'll have that, JV level or junior high level to give them that work. But because we have just junior high and varsity, and the numbers are getting better, but they are still a little lower than we'd like at the varsity level. We'd have to call some ninth graders up that the coaches feel are ready for that. Yep.
So I have a question. So you're 34 that's rostered. Those are actually the ones who played throughout the season.
Correct.
Do you have an idea of your percentage of those who maybe sign up and that are interested that then drop off to what your actual number is that's rostered, that you can anticipate what your loss is from people who are like, yeah, maybe I think I'm going to do this, but then kind of drop off because it's like, no, this really isn't for me? Like, is that 5%? Is that 10%? What do you have an estimate of kind of what that typically looks like?
I mean, it could be different. It really depends, but I would say you're probably hitting the nail right in the head with the 5 or 10%.
I'm going to ask you, what is the purpose of the junior high program if 5 or 6 of the kids are playing varsity football anyway?
The purpose is for the 7th and 8th graders and some of the 9th graders that don't have experience to get experience against kids that they're going to be able to compete against. Last year, we had kids go from SMFA, where you're not even playing full contact, to playing West Perry week 1 against kids that are 250 pounds. So we're avoiding that. We are giving these kids more time, and we're playing 6A schools. We're playing 5A schools. We're not playing schools that are small. We're playing kids that look like they're a high school team. So these kids got excellent, excellent experience last year, and they're going to have a lot more confidence going in now, moving. And it's a great stepping stone. You go from SMFA, or you go from ponies, you go from youth football, you hop into junior high football, and then you're a little bit more prepared when you hit the varsity level.
Well, a 7th grade kid has 3 more years of SMFA football.
I'm sorry, what was it?
A 7th grader has at least 2 more years of midget football eligibility.
I think one of the thought processes behind this is to have a effective feeder program, sort of like field hockey does. They have a junior high program that is running the same plays, has the same coaching that the varsity does. So the thought process behind this was the junior high numbers will be a feeder program to the varsity program, working with the varsity coaches, running the same plays, the same mentality, that sort of thing, which is vastly different than the SMFA. They do a nice job at the beginning, but they don't prepare the students to step in on day one at varsity with familiar plays. So this is our feeder program that we started with get the kids ready for high school, because before this there was not a feeder program, and it's showed over the years.
So I have another question. Maybe you already have this on your previous slide. Did you have in there with the signups that you have this year, what the return rate is? Did you have that on the previous slide? Like, of those athletes that played last year,
So of
how
the
many
7th
them
and
are-
8th graders, basically, who's going to be coming back? Because the 9th graders they'll be moving up. Are you asking for the 9th
Yeah,
graders?
even the 9th graders. Of the 9th graders that
I think
signed up for
we're
football
looking
last year.
we're looking at least 90%.
Okay,
coming back.
that's what I was wondering, what
Yeah,
the number
we're looking
was.
at 90% coming back.
And then, I presume this, well, go ahead. Do you have more of your
I
presentation?
got one more slide.
Yeah, let's do that, and then we'll.
That's it. I'm glad that I put this because this is really important. I mean, junior high programs can be extremely beneficial or extremely damaging. If they got to be run correctly. So the goal for any athletic program, okay, everybody hears of we're going to rebuild. We have to rebuild this year. We're getting a new, no. That you want to get rid of that mentality. You want to have the reload mentality. You want to keep reloading every year. And the way you do that is you build a very strong junior high program and a very strong feeder program. I'll bring up field hockey. Field hockey has an excellent elementary program, excellent junior high program, all the way up. Our coaches are involved in the youth programs and in the feeder programs, and everybody's on the same page, and it runs like one well-oiled machine. It just runs, and that's the idea. So what are some things that we have to do to make sure that the feeder program is running correctly? Involves outstanding communication, collaboration amongst coaches at all levels. I want my varsity coaches to go down to the junior high practices. I want my junior high coaches to come up in the sidelines and help out the varsity practice. I want them to be working together, okay? The biggest thing with junior high is they're gonna run kind of the same offense and the same defense that the varsity runs, just a little bit easier and a little bit more, less complicated, okay? But you gotta have that collaboration, communication amongst the coaches, or it doesn't work. Dedication of coaches helping all levels of the program, ability to adjust based on future rosters. So, my biggest thing, and that's kind of a coaching thing, but, you want to change up your game plan and change up your strategy based on the rostered players that you have. You don't want to keep the same strategy every single year and not care who you have on there. But if we can adjust and we can change our strategy and we can continue to build based on our talent, we will start to win and be more successful. These expectations are known and understood at a young age. I mean, look at junior high. I mean, not one ineligibility, not one academic ineligibility, not one after-school detention. If you ever saw them walking out of practice, they looked like an army. It was just something that they learned at a young age that they were not getting at SMFA. They're getting it here. They learned about the importance of academics, respect, behavior, performance. They need to understand what our expectation is, and they get to do that at the junior high level. This is a great stepping stone between youth football and JV and varsity football. Like I said, we had kids that their only experience was SMFA, not full contact, and then they got to go to West Perry week 1 against kids that are 275 pounds. It's just not you're not setting these kids up for success. You're setting them up to possibly quit the sport. I mean, you got to think of it at that age. You're going in there, you're getting your butt kicked in your first real experience. It's hard to keep that kid motivated. So you got to make sure that we're protecting the kid and we're letting them compete at levels that they're able to compete in. Extremely confident that this will assist in the program. I know high school football here. We're trying to continue to build it up. We want to be successful. I hear a lot of people, we want to go back to the way it was and all the championships and this and that. We'll get there, but this is a big, big thing that we need to make sure that we run correctly, and that will build the program, not like next year, but in the next 15, 20 years, we can have a consistent program. And I also think with the junior high program, you're also going to help, your numbers increase in the program. And that's the biggest thing. You got to have numbers. You got to have depth. You can't be going out there with 20 kids playing a football game. You need to have 35. You need to have 40. You need to have 3 backups for every position. I mean, these are things that the big-time programs do. So we want to get there one day, but in order to get there, I think we really need to build this junior high program. And like I said, we couldn't have had a better year 1. Couldn't have had a better year 1.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions. I know you had said that the collaboration that's going to happen, you said you want your coaches to go down. Did that happen this past year?
Yes and no. Yes
So-
and no. Some things we have to work on.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that's disappointing for me because I thought the idea behind doing the junior high program was to start from out the gate running, to do that. I mean, that's kind of what Jason did. I mean, he was at all of those elementary school things years ago when he started that.
They were. Yeah. Oh, yeah, varsity. I mean, when I mean collaborate, like our varsity players went to all the junior high games. Our varsity players actually.
No, I'm
worked
talking the
this out.
coaches.
Coaches. Yeah, coaches helped. I mean, again, I think we could help out more. I have a little bit higher expectations than some
Well, I
others.
think we all do, right? Because I
Right.
think that if the idea, and I love the idea, the concept of building that, making sure that they're running the same plays and they're doing that, to have that kind of foundational stuff. Good.
I will say too, I had all the junior high and the varsity coaches at my office on Saturday, and we discussed a mental performance plan for the season for both teams. Everybody showed up, it was collaboration, and we had a lot of these conversations too. So I think they're all on board.
Yeah,
with
I
that.
guess I'm just wondering why it didn't happen year
It
one.
will. So I don't want to say it didn't happen. It happened.
Maybe not.
But you can always get better.
Yeah.
We can always improve it. And that's my thing. I want to keep pushing my coaches to work more together and get these programs on the same page. I mean, that's what you want to do. So I don't want to say we didn't. We did. But I think we can improve.
And I guess the other elephant in the room is the cost, right? It's gonna be a significant cost, so we have to really decide whether we're gonna do the
So
whatever.
I do have some numbers. I do have some numbers here. Basically, we did not. The boosters financed pretty much everything for the football season. We did pitch in on a few things because of the revenue that would come in. But if you look at transportation, we're looking at about $1,000 for the season. You average 4 trips. You average $250 per trip. You're looking at $1,000. And you're going to have 8 games at junior high. So I'm basing this off 4 home and 4 away. Officials, you're looking at 4 officials for every home game, $86 per official. You're looking at like $1,350 for officials for the entire year. Coaching salaries, based on the matrix, we would look at a head coach and an assistant coach pay. We're looking at $57.50. And that's based on the current matrix we have right now. If we were to add this, that would be where they would land on the coaching matrix.
You would only have 2 coaches for 35?
For junior high, we have a head coach and an assistant coach.
But if this became a sport that we were offering, you telling me you're only gonna have 2 coaches?
No, we'd have volunteer coaches.
You would have volunteer
Oh, yeah,
coaches,
yeah,
but only 2 paid coaches.
Correct.
So what would that be?
$57.50.
When would we need to make that decision? Now, or in a year, or?
My thought is, I think a 2-year is what we want to do. I want to do 1 more year, and the reason for that is we had a test run. It went great, but I'm usually very optimistic, but you never know, and I want to make sure we're strong this year too before we decide.
Yeah,
to do
the only
it.
other question I had or concern I had from a community member was, what about a kid who wants to be a halfback or a fullback but has to play like, the line because of their size and because there's 17 7th graders on the team, and so they have to learn the skills of a lineman when they want to be, something else. How do we? Is that a good thing, bad thing? How do we? Thoughts on that at all?
I mean, you can probably say that about a lot of sports.
I mean, I
right?
assume that would be true for midgets, perhaps as well, right?
Correct.
Same.
Or even a basketball player that's 6'5" and can dribble, you might put them down at center when they should be a guard. But that happens. But I think we got to trust in our coaches that we're going to put the kids in the right spots. But again, some kids play multiple positions too. So in my opinion, and I will communicate this to coaches, if a kid can play a position and play multiple positions and they're the best at it, and while we're keeping the kids safe, get the kid out there and let him play multiple positions.
I guess I did add another question. Do we have safety concerns if midget is not full contact and we have 7th graders playing now with larger kids? Is that?
I think
Safety
we're
concern?
being, compared to what we were doing where these kids were going right up to varsity and playing up there, I think we have safety in mind when we have them kind of stop at the junior high level, teach them how to hit, teach them how to wear a helmet correctly, teach them how to do these things
Yeah, okay,
correctly.
fair enough.
So I think that helps them in the future, yeah.
I'm kind of lost when you keep referring to midget football as not full contact. What do you mean?
There's a guy on the line. They have somebody on the line that I think the center, they have something where there's a flag or something like that that I talked with Dave Prince about, where you can't hit the center, you can't, something like that, where that was the big complaint when we first started, we didn't have junior high, that the kids weren't taking full contact. Then they were coming here and taking full contact.
Okay, rest assured, midget football, peewees, ponies, at every level is full contact.
Well, even so, you're going from full contact with 100 pounds to full contact with 275 pounds. Now you're going full contact with 100-pound kids to a full contact, maybe 120, 140-pound kid. Then you're going up to 2. You can't go from youth and midgets to seniors in high school. You can't do
Well,
it.
6 of our kids did. So
4.
obviously 4 or 5.
4 did.
4?
4 did.
So obviously SFMA prepared them.
Well, either they prepared them or the kids are just naturally athletic and naturally bigger, and we needed big kids on the roster. That's going to happen. You're going to have some 9th graders that were bigger than some of our juniors. and they're ready, and they're skilled. You got to put them up.
And I
Now,
know
again,
one
if
of
we
the-
had JV,
And I know one of the conversations, I don't mean to cut you off, is that we want to continue to foster that relationship with SMFA, to continue to build and to have that ongoing communication and liaison between us and them to make sure there is that continued partnership that needs to occur. Besides just using, the field for a game or two, being able to have, and I know they have a board, long-term vision would be to be able to have somebody in our football program sit on that board, to be able to have those conversations, work together, foster that, because ultimately our students are who benefit, as they work through the program here at Susquenita.
So can we go back to costs? Because I don't think we got through all of everything.
yeah. So the good news with the cost is the uniforms are paid for.
Yeah, but they're not going to be in
In 5
three,
years, they'll
right?
need
So
to be. Correct.
I'd like to know sort of what will the grand cost
So
be on
I'm
an
gonna-
ongoing
I'll go
basis?
over, the first cost is reoccurring, which means we have to pay it every year, and that's conditioning. That's reconditioning the cost for the uniforms and the helmets and stuff like that. We're looking at around $5,000 for reconditioning costs.
So that's like what we pay now is $11,000 for high school?
Yeah, it'd be
Now,
five.
why do you think it's only going to be 5,000
I
when you have
talked to
35
Rydell.
kids?
We got a rough estimate from Rydell, and the boosters did pay for the conditioning this year, and it was about 47 and
So
change.
why do we pay 11,000 then in the high school if we have less players?
Well, it's more jerseys. So we only have one jersey for junior high. With the football, they have multiple jerseys. So it is more that they need to do and more of a cost. But that was the number that we got from Rydell, was 47.
Yeah, I'd like to know maybe if the 11,000 is too high for the high school.
Probably is,
Yeah, then we could adjust that then, perhaps.
Um,
Maybe we could help pay for the middle school.
So the game jerseys were about $3,000 in cost. Again, they were purchased, so the next time they would need to be purchased, we're looking at 5 years down the road for that. Shoulder pads were around $2,400. We would not need to get those for another. Again, shoulder pads, you're looking anywhere from 3 to 5 years with those. Game pants, $1,500. We won't need those for 5 more years. And the Speed Flex helmets for the junior high was about $2,200. And that won't be a reoccurring cost. We'll have those helmets until we need new ones, obviously. So.
And then what about supplies? Like that we have budgeted now for high school?
So that's all the equipment. That's all the supplies. That would be all of the. That's everything that they spent this year.
Like ball cost, or, I don't know what we were looking at the budget for high school. I'd imagine they'd,
Yeah, I mean junior high, the boosters took care of the footballs, but I mean you're looking at maybe $500 to $750 for footballs, possibly. But again, we have footballs up at the high school, so again, a lot of times we could share those, so the cost isn't too effective. But that's what the boosters paid this year for the program. Those were the costs.
When I'm, just for the benefit of the board, when I'm questioning this, I'm not saying I'm questioning this, that I'm not in favor of doing it. I just want to make sure that we as a board are fully aware of what this will cost us, because when we first got numbers about girls wrestling, they were a tad lower than what we actually ended up with, and we know we're going to cost us in terms of adding to our budget. So I think we need to be very aware of, while we don't have to buy it now, we are going to have to buy it in the future. My guess is if this program stays robust to 30 to 35 athletes, I don't know how you're going to limit it to just 2 coaches. I just think that that's naive, that we're only going to have 2 coaches when you need 6 paid coaches or whatever we have at the high school, 5. So I just don't understand why you would only need 2 for 30 to 35 players in junior high, but you need 5 for 25 players in the high school.
So we had 2 main coaches this year. We had 2 main coaches. 2 main. So we
Yeah,
had a head and
I-
assistant, and then we had like 3 volunteer coaches.
Right, because that's because the boosters were paying for it and there wasn't a budget from the school. What I'm saying is that I guess, and not being a football person, I don't understand why we have 5 paid coaches, and we need 5 paid coaches at the high school, offense, defense, special teams, or whatever, for 25 athletes or 30, and we only need 2 in middle school for the same number or more athletes?
Now, my thought would be, at the high school level, your offensive, defensive coordinators are definitely a little bit more involved in the playbook. There's a lot more depth in the playbook. There's a lot more going on in the playbook. When you're at the junior high level, it's a little bit easier to navigate, where we can probably just have a head and assistant coach work on the offense. Now, it's something that I definitely want to take a look at. We had tremendous coaches this year, so everything ran extremely smooth. But I think that's something we need to look at. But that would be the answer to your question, a little bit of a difference between the high school
Okay.
and the junior high. It's a lot more complicated, the playbooks and things like that at the high school level.
And then I'm hearing that there is a sign up for junior high cheerleading. So now you have a junior high team, then there will be wannabe junior high cheerleaders, and then we'll be paying for uniforms for junior high cheerleaders. So I'm just saying, is this part of the snowball effect that might happen?
I'm very unaware of a junior high cheer situation. I don't know if that was a miscommunication. That is not something that was brought to me. Right now, what we did is our SMFA cheerleaders will come up and they will cheer for our junior high. I thought that was a great connection we can make with SMFA to kind of come up here and join us and be there. So I have nothing with junior high cheerleading has come across my desk.
There's a sign up on Facebook.
I'll deal with that. I don't know why that's up there.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that you guys had anything to do with that. What I'm saying is,
I should know that.
no, but I meant like, I'm just thinking futuristically, you could see I just want us to be aware,
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
You know,
I
if you have a robust junior high football team, you could see that you would then have a feeder for competitive cheer,
Yeah.
you know? So, it's all right. I think I got my numbers to,
But again, I
consider.
do, I want to see one more year of it. I think it's important that we do another year and just see if the numbers continue to go up. Who knows? I mean, again, I don't want this to happen, but if the numbers drastically drop and participation drops, and it's something that we got to look into and see what the future holds. But like I said, I think one more year, we have a year like we did last year with the numbers and with the success. I think it's something we should look at, but I totally understand what you're saying with the costs.
yeah, and I think maybe in this next year, we do look to see how can we share those resources with high school, If the Rydell package is only X number of dollars, is that money already in that money that we have allotted for Rydell for the refurbishment? I'm just, that way we can make it a little bit more palatable.
Yeah, I agree with you there, because I think like this first year we wanted the program up and running, and that was but I think now we can analyze the program a little bit more and look into, everything that goes into it. But I think, last year was just, all right, let's get enough players, let's make sure these kids go out there and play, and now it's, okay, how can we make this program last? So I think I agree with you 100%.
I just wanted, Mr. Markowitz, I just wanted to say, I think you did a really nice job presenting this to us. That was neatly organized. I think you speak well. We want to hear more from you. We'll tell I'll whisper to Dr. Fox, tell the man to shut up at the next meeting. But you don't talk too much. We want to know more, like updates on junior high football, updates on girls wrestling, something weird out there on Facebook, which I know you didn't see, to just give us a heads up. Hey, we saw this out there. We know what it is, so nobody feels blindsided or whatever. Updates on any of our sports. Phenomenal, phenomenal stuff going on in athletics. I want you to tout that more, express more, talk more about it. Hey, this is going on with junior high. Every once in a while, updates, junior high football, wrestling. We're excited. This is going well. This is not going well. The more you share with us, the more we know, the more we could be supportive of the program and of our kids. Our kids have amazing, amazing, amazing opportunities, and they're being successful. So please feel free to share more with us. It's appreciated and needed.
Absolutely.
And that would even mean Dr. Fox gives us weekly updates to the board on occasion. That would even mean, if you feel the need to just, or can or want to just put together some type of a written document, say to Dr. Fox, hey, maybe share this with the board. Just here's some cool stuff going on in athletics. That would all be, that would be great. Sorry. He didn't pass kindergarten. He doesn't share well, but you can help him.
Thank you very much. I'm going to kind of bat out of order a little bit, and I want, oh, go ahead, Kelly. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm going to ask if JT wants to, just you want to be mindful of his time. For the past, one of the takeaways that we had initially in conversations about our facilities, and it started back with our initial facilities study, in the first facility study, and remember that was with Crabtree, and our second facility study, which was with Pannoni, and we wanted to continue to engage with Pannoni as our engineer working with us to develop a concept due to the safety and issues of the pinch points occurring with the transportation and the drop-off at the elementary school. The elementary school is our largest building. It has some of the most vehicular traffic between teachers, parent drop-offs, school buses, all occurring at the same time using these one singular parking lot. So we charged JT and Pannoni with designing some concepts that would help alleviate some of that pinch point, but ultimately provide a safer, more efficient way to be able to drop off and pick up both passengers, student riders from cars, and bus, while still creating separate areas for pedestrian walkways, because we do have some students who walk to the middle school to be able to be picked up there as well. So lots of concepts went into this, lots of different ideations, lots of thought partners, including Pannoni, Mr. Ward, Mr. Howe, Mr. Olinger, and myself coming together to try to develop some concepts. So JT, I'm gonna drop it off to you to talk a little bit, as well as the team here to add other concepts and areas as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Fox. You pretty much took most of my page of notes that I had before, so it's all good. No, but as Dr. Fox said, we started out in 2024 looking at a variety of aspects to the campus, and one of those was safety at the elementary school. And you know, it's difficult when you drop a student off or when you pick them up sometimes, because there is the conflict associated with the buses and the parent drop-off line. The students literally have to be ferried across in front of the buses. They don't always look. Sometimes they're very anxious to get to school that day, or the parents are anxious to get to work, and it can cause chaos. I know Mr. Olinger has shared some videos of some incidents, or very close incidents. We don't want any incident with any of our students or any of our residents. So the thought process here is to completely separate the buses and the van traffic from the teacher and the student drop-off from car riders. So with this concept, it builds upon what you've already got. It adds the parking that is required based on the number of staff that are in this building and the size of the facility. It increases your handicap spaces. It provides that ADA access that is needed. It funnels cars through your existing entrance and exits them out that entrance. It keeps the car traffic by itself. So on the bottom of the sheet here, you can see we have a two-way. Right now it's a one-way. It becomes a two-way. It's wide enough for that. We have speed bumps that are removable in the event of snow removal, because that becomes a straightaway for parents and or delivery trucks to move aggressively through your parking lot. We do not want them moving aggressively through the parking lot. So the thought process is vehicles enter, they come in along the side there. We've got parking off on the side for teachers, or the teachers can cross over and enter into their typical parking spots. Those parking spots where the teachers are parking, we have designated those as one-way designations that you can actually do loops to get back and forth. That way we don't have two-way traffic within there. That increases safety and allows for better mobility in entering and exiting those parking spots. If you do not go into the main teacher parking lot area, you're able to work your way to the right, to the east through the parking area, which then becomes a designated one-way road. That one-way road heads over towards the playground and the delivery area. That keeps an area for queuing of cars as the morning or the evening occurs, and then it brings them right up to the sidewalk. That sidewalk drop-off area allows for the safe and efficient movement of students out of a car on the passenger side or the driver's side over to the sidewalk, and then that teacher or safety officer out there can then wave that car forward once the student has been dropped off. They then exit back out and work their way back out the way that they came in. Buses, the existing out becomes a two-way in-out for bus traffic only. It will also have a gate associated with it, very similar to what you see at the middle school. Bus traffics are able to queue as well as vans. They work their way out around. This is one of the areas that we had talked about during the initial site feasibility. I know, Leanne, you had mentioned there was this nice little area missing of any development. This is why we did not put development potential in this area, because we wanted to be able to explore this option. So this allows us to not only have a bus drop-off pickup area as well as van drop-off pickup area, but it also allows us to close the gate, and this can then also become a playground. It can be used for multifunction at that point. We extend the concrete around, which allows for multiple areas of designated drop-off or pickup by the buses. Once they depart, they work their way back out, and they're back out and on their way back out to 1115 or Schoolhouse Road. One of the other integrations that we had, you'll notice that there's a crosshatch there for pedestrians. That is on a different location than it is currently. We've flipped that to the south side of the roadway to better protect those individuals that are utilizing that. It gives an area of refuge with the grass area. It also integrates green space into your very bland, impervious parking lot area. But that crosswalk connects into the ADA sidewalk that's there in front of the building, but it also then works its way across Schoolhouse Road, or Schoolhouse Drive rather, or Susquenita Drive, sorry. But we've also integrated a speed table in that crossing. So you will see these in a number of areas now. They are becoming more and more popular. It is essentially a speed bump that is enlarged. It forces traffic to slow down. This is one of our straightaway areas and on Susquenita Drive. Before you come to that curve, we want people to slow down as they come into that curve or go out of that curve. This is one way to do it. So it's similar to a speed bump. It is not removable. It is a blacktop bump. It's about 8 inches high, up to a foot, and basically you're able to drive over that. It's a wide tabletop area, 8 to 10 feet across on the top. That gives you the access for pedestrians to walk across. It gives them that added height to put them above the eyesight line of traffic utilizing that road, so they're more visible, which is what we want. Question?
So I have a question about the entrance onto and off of the speed table. So will that then be ramped up onto from that walk area and then down off of,
Yes.
so that it is also ADA accessible?
It is 100% ADA compliant, yes. Yes, that will ramp both to the crosswalk as well as the existing sidewalk on either side. Then that will meet ADA criteria for slope. So this completely separates, gives you the parking that you need, provides a safe and efficient entrance access to the school based on the feedback that we received from the team. There are also some notes on here. One other area that we're looking at is farther to the west at the parking lot for teachers going to the middle school. So that middle school parking lot is somewhat disconnected from the entrance that most middle school teachers utilize. They utilize the door in the middle of the building, and there is no direct connection to that door unless you go out around. So the thought process is put another speed table in that area. That way the teachers are now visible. We lose one parking spot because we want to have the access across there. Again, it can be ADA compliant. And we extend a sidewalk across right to that door. It gets them across the parking lot, across the roadway, across the grass, and right into the building in a very efficient and short manner. That way, during inclement weather, it's a little bit easier for That speed table will also help with that other straightaway that we have in front of the building. Again, coming out of the curve, going into the curve, depending on which way the traffic is going, it's another straightaway. So it's a means of slowing traffic as well as enhancing pedestrian safety. Thoughts, questions on this part of it?
Number of buses, is that what we have now? I see of 9 on there. Is that what we have that?
Currently, we have 17 buses that support our district. Through dismissal at elementary, those buses are arriving anywhere between 3:25 and 4 o'clock. So they're staggered. Shall a bus need to wait his turn, we're going to utilize the middle school bus lanes for that.
Okay. All right, so we won't be backed up on any of those
No.
roads. Okay. And then I like the idea of the dual function of that area. And I haven't had a kid in elementary school for a long time, so I have no idea about this stuff, but that field that was there, that I know that they used to use it years ago for field hockey. I don't think you use that anymore for the youth, do you? But how about like field day, things like that? Did that take a lot of that green space, or?
So it took some of it, but the integration of that parking area with the green space in the middle between the parking lots and then the existing parking lot, there's no curbing there. So it still functions as that large open space that can be used. And for field days, you could use the area adjacent to the west, or you could even use the green area that you see by the student drop-off with car riders. That could be another area for those playhouses or fun houses that could be placed there. So there's a couple different options that are there. And we also made it curbless so that we could get stormwater off of the paved surfaces and into the grass to infiltrate. But it also helps with maintenance, with plowing, because the more curbs that you have, the harder it is to push the snow away. And that was one of Scott's big things is maintenance. And how do we remove snow in these areas? So the more that we can get the snow more efficiently out of these areas and not have to bring in loaders or skid steers to move snow, all the better. And we can just push that straight off into the grass.
So the area where the buses are going to be, it's very similar to one of the districts that I work at. The material will be like playground material on the ground level, not asphalt.
So this is all asphalt.
Okay, but it's going to be served as a playground as well, correct?
Correct. And your existing playgrounds, well, if you go to the other side, the other playground that's there now is currently asphalt as well.
So if you're going to use the space, once the buses are done as a playground area, why wouldn't you make it playground compliant with the surface?
Because playground compliant surfaces are not load rated for buses to drive on them.
Okay.
It's not a full-on playground as in, it's more like how the middle school lot functions with students coming out and playing basketball or kickball or dodgeball on the lot. It's more in that keeping. It's not a true playground. It's an open space that they can utilize. That's not muddy.
Yeah, there are some days, unfortunately, that the water gets into that playground and in and around, just because it gets wet in that area. That'll give them another chance to still be able to go outside. You won't have access to the playground equipment that's out there, but there'll be an opportunity, like you said, to be able to do some kickball, foursquare, those types of games and activities and all.
And we do have other playgrounds throughout the building, and it works out really well with the grades and how we have it split up. But what I really visualize this area, and we're using that throughout the day, would be more of the gym classes because it's so relatively close to the gym where Mr. Craig could then take the students out and have outdoor gym classes on.
How do you feel about it? Do you like this concept? Yeah.
I love it.
Okay.
So just for a safety factor, being there only 2 years, there's been multiple times where like, whoa, like something's about to happen. This here eliminates everything. So I wish JT did a great job with the presentation, but if we went through and described exactly how it works now, you would see the flaws in the design and in the process. And we've tried to change things as much as we can, but with the design of the front of the building and the parking lot, this by far is the absolute best option.
And one component also that isn't really talked about is a little bit of the stormwater aspect and groundwater. If you've been over at the elementary lot, kind of at the end of the white cars that are all lined up in a line there between the cars and the building, there is an area there of failing pavement, and there's a lot of groundwater that seeps out there. We're basically at the base of the mountain, so the groundwater finds its way out. That's the path of least resistance. There are some inlets through there. However, those inlets are not collecting the water efficiently, so the water is ending up on the surface, and in the wintertime, that turns to ice. So it creates a hazardous situation there, not only for vehicles, but also for pedestrians using that. So the thought process here is also to install some underground drainage systems that tie into those existing inlets, improve the existing drainage system that's there as needed to capture that groundwater at the ground level, underground, and convey it to the system and then out into detention and or eventually the stream that's there. This also completely incorporates all new pavement. The whole parking lot gets paved. We don't want to do a patchwork quilt. We want this to look really nice and be efficient and functioning for 20, 30 years. Once we cut a lot of things up and once we add, we want it to all look homogeneous. We want everything to look really good because we want the public to see this. This is safety at its best, and we want it to look good.
Do buses now idle while they're waiting? That probably would be my only concern about the proximity they are to the entrance there, where the buses will be now. Can we not have them idle? Are they? That would, you know what I mean? I'm just thinking that diesel, whatever. I love the concept. I'm not trying to find fault with it at all. I'm just wondering, is there any kind of mitigation we can do with that?
As we discussed, as those busts, their stagger and approach, they show up and within, 5 minutes, they're already dismissing again. To continuously do that with the diesel engine, we're obviously going to hurt that, and it's going to not function the way we want it to.
So I actually have a question. So I really like this, but I have a question about, because you were talking about safety. And I know one of the things we've always talked about is the little stream, creek, wherever, it depends upon where you're from, what you're going to call it. So I'm just curious about the little, is it a retention pond or what that is and what kind of measures we would put around that, obviously because the walk area is now within closer proximity to that. So are we looking at fencing that, or what is the concept for that?
So that is just a graphic representation of some form of a stormwater management facility. So we'll get into some cost estimating next. But that doesn't, one of the things that we have to do for a project of this manner is stormwater management. And that requires us to determine what we are going to do when we collect and convey that water. What are we going to do to it? How are we going to treat it? So the water that's coming off of this parking lot will have oils, it will have greases, it will have salt, those kind of things, petroleum products. We want to try to capture that before it enters into that water course that eventually makes its way down to the Susquenita River. So there are certain criteria that we have to meet with that. There are abilities to create best management practices or stormwater management facilities that have the capability of infiltrating that surface water and cleaning it as it goes. We can put biofilters in the basins. We can put rain gardens in, which will assist in the collection and capture of those materials. This is just a graphic representation. We are not going to put a 6-foot deep pond right next to the elementary school. You've already got a pond on the other side. You don't need another one here. This would be a very shallow basin, essentially a basin, very similar to the one that's to the south next to the volleyball court. It's very shallow, sloping sides. That way it's easy for maintenance. There isn't a fall hazard. It's there. It's going to have water in it. We are not allowed to retain water for extended periods of time, so the basin has to infiltrate that water and it has to convey that water out so that it does not stay wet. It is not a wetland. It is not a pond. It is a stormwater feature that can only hold water for so long.
Yeah, and over the last 7 months, I've had the pleasure of serving this district, and unfortunately had to intervene over several times throughout the school year for the safety of our children, standing in front of a vehicle, grabbing a child, so on and so forth, which could have been costly to the district. The proposed arrival and dismissal of the parking lot design is necessary to address the documented safety concerns of these students. The elementary students require age-appropriate pedestrian protection, controlled traffic flow, and enhanced supervision that cannot be adequately achieved within the existing site conditions. The design provides for clear separation between parent vehicles, school buses, staff parking, emergency access routes, thereby reducing the traffic control points and minimizing the likelihood of a vehicle pedestrian issue. From a supervision standpoint, the design improves sight lines, eliminates the blind spots, and allows staff to manage student movement without entering active traffic lanes. Students are discharged and received from a curb, and approval of this design demonstrates the district's exercise of reasonable care and due diligence in addressing known foreseeable hazards. By implementing a purpose-built design that addresses both traffic safety and environment site conditions, the district reduces its liability exposure. Approval of the proposed arrival dismissal parking lot design reflects the responsibility and stewardship of the public funds. That's just my recommendation. Thank you.
And I will remind everybody, this is just a concept right now. This is not an actual design. That is still another process. You know, if somebody says, well, we don't want the crosswalk to be that color, or the hawk symbol in the school symbol in the middle of the parking lot, we'd rather it not be painted. We'd rather it just be an open parking lot. That's fine. If there's changes to sidewalks, we can have those conversations as we move on. Or we don't want all that additional parking in front of the volleyball court. It's an iterative process. We still have more steps to go. We still have the design. We have survey that has to be done, design, permitting, bidding, construction oversight, project closeout, as-built surveys. That way you have all this information to get through it. This is the first step, as a concept that meets what the committee wanted at the end of the day.
Now, I was just going, I guess, chime in with what Ken was saying. Having spent 7 years at the elementary school and trying every which way to ensure student safety, the parent drop-off in buses, there's not been an ideal way, and Ken's done a great job the time he's been down there. This would be ideal. This would be great.
So I know one of the things you'd mentioned too is potentially, and I don't know if it's a part of this or was it proposed, like it could expand into this, the middle school teacher parking lot that expands off and having a sidewalk that then kind of goes across. So there is another kind of speed table and what that looks like, and then looking at that. So are we looking at that to be a part of this or an addition to this? Like what?
That really will be up. I think it's important to look at the scope of work, and then from there to see. Definitely could be a part of this, to look at it as a broader part of this project, as well as the whole Susquenita Drive needs to be remilled and repaved. It's old. If you've been on it, it's has significant water flow underneath it. There are several potholes. It's been tended to, but it's time. It's time to mill it, and it's time to repave it and repave it right. So that could be part of the entirety of the project as well.
Right, so and that actually leads us right into our next slide. So there's two cost estimates associated with that. So we'll start with the overall circulation study. As you saw, there is a lot of rework. There's a lot of new work. So we put together this cost estimate based upon what our anticipated quantities are, as well as current costs that we are seeing across the industry. You will also see that there is a 10% contingency escalation worked in at the bottom. That is prudent whenever you're dealing with expensive materials such as blacktop. That is highly fluctuating in cost based on the price of oil. So that is why there is a 10% contingency in this. So, you know, we have to strip topsoil. We have to repave. We have to put erosion sedimentation control measures in place. We have to build the stormwater management facilities. We have to do sidewalks, concrete curbing, repaving. The line painting, the striping, the tabletops, signage. Those tabletops also, for this concept, have flashing pedestrian warning devices in them. That brings your attention to those tabletops to just add that extra level of safety. This also includes the gates that are in this area. So, then we have to reseed. We have to do everything with that. It is a number. It's, with the contingency, it's $612,000 in anticipated construction cost. But that may save one life. It may save several lives. So it's something to think about. I know it's not a small number. So that's one of the conversations that we'll be continuing, I am sure. If you go to the next slide, Dr. Fox noted the mill and overlay of Susquenita Drive that needed to occur again, as well as the tabletop speed table on that. That is a significant amount of paving. That is a very wide road, and that is a very long road. So again, contingency in there due to the fluctuation potential with oil prices. You're just north of $330,000 for that kind of paving job. Now, you put these two together, you may get some economies of scale because you are able to utilize one contractor that can pave everything in one mobilization, so you reduce your mobilization costs. You get a better cost on materials because you are buying so much for blacktop or the tabletops or concrete. That helps bring some of that cost down. So you may realize that through the bidding process that there can be efficiencies. But, between the two of them, you're $900,000 in construction costs.
So all in, absolutely, after engineering, some soft costs, probably about a million, $1,816 is the total. So the question may come up is, can we afford this with our other projects? And to date, the answer would be yes.
Be a little more specific with that then. So you're saying, because what did we just talk about doing the refurb, not the
So currently, right now,
redesign of the, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay.
We just evaluated the redesign of the drama department and the athletic area and everything else, carved that money out. So are you saying that we still have enough left in our original $15 million loan to cover this?
Yes, we do. So no, right now, before this, we have about $2.5 million left. So
Is that already taking out what we're doing for?
it takes everything into account out. It takes in the interest that we've earned on this. So we still have right now. We have about 2.5. So if we did another one, we'd still have about $1.5 million even after that.
And when we first started looking at our wish list, off the top of your head, is there anything else big ticket wise that we didn't address yet? Not saying that that's going to be a decision. I'm just kind of wondering, is there anything next on the list that we were
There's
looking to do?
always next projects.
Well, yes, of course, but I meant,
Right.
yeah.
In terms of addressing certain issues, a lot of what we're doing through this ESCO project, what we're doing through the RLPS project, and we'll know more on specific numbers when that comes and those bids get opened in March 26th, somewhere in that range. We'll know more specifics there. But off the top of my head, trying to go back through that feasibility study, going back through the colorations, we address a lot of those needs in that feasibility study throughout all of these projects that we're currently doing.
Yeah, there was a lot of deferred maintenance. There's equipment that is old and can be more efficient, and that's what that ESCO GISA project is all about.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of a bigger thing. Not to say that there's not always something we can be doing and improving, but I was just thinking in terms of like the things that we did address in terms of the HVAC and the windows, those kind of things. We wanted to address the trauma department and the needs that we had there and that reuse of that space. And then this was another biggie.
But I think it's a great question, and then you said what I was thinking, the equipment, some of these other things. I'd like Mr. Howe and the team to work on, maybe this is a possible retreat item, I don't know, work on like a 5-year plan so that like some things are going to be coming up, some things are going to be more expensive, some years other, just to going back, because our 5-year plans in the past have included some of the things that we are now taking care of in 1 year. So to go back and revise that 5-year plan, even including things like what do we need to do to the turf field at what point, those types of things. So that would be, I think, very, very helpful. My other question, it might seem like a silly one, but I want to make sure someone's thinking about this. Like even with the reinventing some of the spaces in the high school building, there's a large portion of that has to do with organization. There's a large portion of that has to do with throwing out stuff that should have been thrown out a long time ago. There are large spaces in this building that are just poorly utilized because we have not had staff that have had time to clean, throw away stuff, organize. So I just hope somewhere in this plan we're finding a way, even if we have to hire someone who can come in and re-image these athletic cages that we're spending all this money on so that it's organized in such a way that there's also space for props for the drama department, or reorganizing the space where we're going to be putting wood so that there's also space to put backdrops for whatever. So a lot of that is just about reorganization, and I fear that we're going to end up having these beautiful spaces, but no one's going to have time to go in and organize them. So if we can afford to even pay someone to do that, I just don't want that to fall. I just don't want that to fall off the radar somewhere, and it has for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying completely, and I think those cage areas, the storage areas for athletics, in that whole back area is going to have to be cleaned. That's number one. It has to be cleaned before construction can begin, and it has to be cleaned sooner rather than later. And I know that has gone out, or is going to come out, the email that stipulates what needs to be marked to be kept and what needs to be marked for removal. And then we're going to have to stage within the cafeteria with tables each particular athletic program, and then having to go through it one more time as well. And that involves other aspects as well. We're going to go through the same exercise when it comes to those areas that are going to be that flex space in those areas as well. So there's going to be a lot of stuff that we've held on to that will be coming to you saying, here's some items we are just going to dispose of because they're broken. So if it's okay, just take a thumbs up. Let us without requisitioning broken items, we're going to throw those away. Items that have any worth or value to them, we will come to you and either A, place it on municipal bid, or B, sell it outright for a sale or donate it to boosters to be able to be sold.
Well, and I think, I don't know, this is just maybe a personal beef of mine since I go around to vocational schools. Our industrial arts department, that needs to be cleaned up, and we have to decide what tools we're using, what tools we're not using. We're doing, and I'm sure you've seen it, we're doing all these things. We're spending all this money, and so something like that, I mean, just getting, we've been talking about it a long time, but getting that done. And if we have to hire someone to do that, just making sure those types of things get done. And by the way, don't forget about the Black Hawk Foundation. If you have old uniforms or old Susquenita stuff, Dr. Rubish was able to sell jars of dirt so from the football field. So if we have old athletic stuff, we got to remember we can get Dr. Rubish. We can put some of that stuff out there. Maybe we can raise some money for the Black Hawk Foundation, which all goes back to our kids.
So heading back to the parking lot kind of redesign, JT, what would a reasonable next steps be in a process if there was a desire to move forward? What would kind of that timeline look like for us?
Yeah, so the next process is if everybody's in agreement with this is the concept that we want to move forward, and whether or not you want to also include the mill and overlay work associated with Susquenita Drive. we would look to provide a proposal to you for that survey, engineering, permitting, bidding, construction, oversight, and as-built work. Provide that for consideration, and as soon as we get that, we can start working. Ultimately, it comes down to when you want to do this work. You don't want to do this work in the middle of school season, so that puts us in a prime time of summer when all these other projects are happening. But that also compresses our schedule because we are now in March. Permits take time to be reviewed. Design plans take time to pull together. Survey takes time to complete. With this, we would probably do this with drones, the majority of it. That could, if we're doing that during the school season, which I would recommend we do, we could even integrate that into some classroom project for the STEAM or STEM students. Come out, see what we do with this work. This is something you could do. Try to integrate that into those programs with the drone, with the survey, that kind of work. We can even give presentations associated with the engineering side of it and what we do and why we do what we do. But regardless, it's an accelerated schedule to get us into May, June timeframe for a contractor to start moving dirt. So typically permits take 30 days to review at the municipal and the county level. This will require review by the Perry County Conservation District as well as Penn Township. The plans have to be prepared. So we're probably looking at that 2 to 3 month period to get all this together. It then has to go out to bid. Hopefully we get good bids back. We always reserve the right to not award depending on what the bids come back at. And we move forward from there. And then we go through that process, and then we can move forward. This work, we're probably looking at about 2 months worth of work for construction, give or take. Throw a good crew at this, they can get this knocked out pretty quick. And then from there, try to wrap it up. We certainly not try to wrap it up before school starts, because we do not want this to be a muddy mess. We do not want this to be in the midst of being paved when students are coming in, at the end of August. So it is an accelerated schedule, but it's still doable at this point. I'm not trying to push it, but realize the farther we table this out, the harder it becomes to meet that summer deadline of getting this started, shovels in the ground. And that may be fine. You may want to push it to 27, 28.
Well, I just want to commend everybody, the teachers, the school resource officer, you, for all of the thought that went into this. I mean, I think taking into consideration ADA, taking into consideration the safety of our students, also looking at all of the different features as far as still being able to access our playgrounds, and it still maintains green space. I just really appreciate all of the efforts and the thought process that went into this, and I think really kind of keeping in mind that it is for the safety of our students. Having more recently in the past been at the elementary school and knowing what that drop-off looks like, even if you're a car rider, or even if you're just stopping at the school to drop something off, and how crazy that can be, that, I do think this would be a great enhancement to our district. And so looking at, kind of hearing what that ask is, and I just want to express my appreciation for all of the time you guys have put into this. I think it's definitely going to be a great enhancement if the board chooses to move forward.
I have to admit, a part of me feels like this is a little bit of a Cadillac version of creating what we need at the elementary school, with the gate and some of the other things. And I'm thinking, we could do this in phases. We don't have to have a gate, whatever. And this is where I'm thinking. But I'm also thinking this is phenomenal. And if we can afford to give you the go-ahead and do this now without it affecting our debt service, then I think we should. Because it is phenomenal. Again, if we can afford to do that, we could certainly afford to do something cheaper and easier. But if we're able to do this now, and I agree with everything Ms. Walburn just said, a great job, everyone, then whatever, you would have my vote to move forward. And you're asking, I guess, from the board if they would have your vote to move forward. Is that correct?
That's correct. I think there's still a couple questions that we're gonna ask, and then I will ask you guys for the next steps that you want us to take.
Kelly Noss, Penn Township. My concern is logistics between this project and all the other projects happening at every other building. If we're tearing up the road in terms of access for the other equipment, so, you know, middle school projects don't get delayed or high schools, and how that all works in terms of a time frame.
That's a great question. And that is one of the things that we have to figure out with this. And all of those other projects that are going on are all about logistics and where we're staging things. So, you know, for the work that we're doing, we are doing, it's no longer a proposal, you know, we need access to that delivery area. We need to be able to get delivery trucks in and out. We need to have contractor access. So there are certain ways that we will, just because right now we operate in a one-way condition, going in, coming out, that doesn't mean we can't change that during the summer so that we have certain areas open, and then basically we phase where we do the improvements, because the lower section here, you know, that's essentially a mill and overlay project. You know, we're going to add some parking there, so they got to excavate the topsoil, put some base in, and repave. But the majority of that area is just a mill and overlay, so that can stay open for the longevity of the project, and that's the final piece that gets taken care of when everything else is done. So we can do the off-site work for the bus loop while the parking lot is still doing what it needs to do from a functioning standpoint for people being in the building, as well as the improvements that are going to happen. And then we end up flipping things around and having that coordination with our other contractors and the contractor that would potentially win this job. That's what it's all about, is having those conversations. We meet weekly right now with our contractors that are doing the ESCO GISA work, because there are so many different things that are happening, and we want to make sure that, you know, we're not replacing all the exterior of this building, and then we decide, oh, now we're going to do the other part where we need to put a door in, so we're going to rip out everything that they just fixed. It's all about laying things out, laying the schedule out, working with our contractors, having those contractor meetings frequently, early to get everybody on the same page, and frequently to remind them of this is how we're going to do it. So it's part of this would be putting the schedule together, part of this would be the contractor maintenance, and directing them when to do certain pieces. So logistics, it's fun.
How long, if we decide, you know, to kind of move forward with surveying and permitting and all those design costs associated with that, how long does a permit last? Because let's say we kind of get pushed a little bit, and before you know it, we're kind of bucking up against an area and a timeline where it's not practical for us to kind of go pre-bid and then bid, where we have to kind of push it out for the 27-28 school year.
So with this, the erosion sedimentation control NPDES permit for the stormwater is good for 5 years. So you have a shelf life on it. That permit can also be extended relatively easily. You basically write a letter to the Conservation District and say, we did not complete it. We did not start it. We need more time. And they say, how much more time would you like? And we add it.
And is it something with Susquenita Drive that you think that could be done like on a weekend when, like it wouldn't have to be done before the start of school, that could still remain open and to be a part of something that happens as a...
So weekend and night work costs more.
Okay.
So
Never mind.
you could always request that. You know, a mill and overlay job, as long as the blacktop plant's open, we can pave.
Okay.
It's just, are you willing to pay the premium to have those
have it
trucks
done on the
drive at
weekend.
night and have the plant open that long? The milling job you could do in a weekend, and you could leave it, as long as the base is still good, you could leave the milled surface for a couple weeks if you wanted to. It's not advantageous, but you know, it's one of those things that you can do that part in stages, and then once they go to pave, they line the trucks up, you use a full width paver, and they knock it out in a day or two.
So
I think what I would like to do is, I would like to see a bid as a whole thing, to see if we do get the cost savings because of having the Susquenita Drive done at the same bid process as the new parking bus lanes and things like that.
So
If
I-
that was a question.
I don't think we'll know that until we went out for like a actual bid to open up and see what the cost was. Is that accurate?
Yeah, but I think what JT was saying earlier, though, is if you decide not to go with the remill of Susquenita Drive, that would be what the cost would be, but there's a potential that if we decided to move on both and bid it at the same time, that you might be able to get a cost savings. And all I was saying was that I would be in favor of doing both projects together. I don't know where the rest of the board is.
If there wasn't a cost savings, and Susquenita Drive is not horrible yet, could we invest any remaining money that we have and earn interest on it and use it later at such a time where we absolutely can't help it but have to do Susquenita Drive?
Yeah, you can.
Thank you.
This isn't a sales pitch, but the longer you wait, the more expensive things become. I will say that.
And there's going to be some work that's going to need to be done on the front of Susquenita Drive when you exit into 11 and 15. There are significant potholes there from just overuse, plowing, salt, truck, traffic, et cetera. So those are going to need to be patched regardless. So that's something that's going to have to happen. So I think we should probably look at phases, and I think the first phase is, please stop me at any point, would be to get a proposal from you on the surveying, engineering, pre-bid, bidding, as well as the permitting, and all of that kind of put together in a proposal that we can review, and then for consideration, if you're in agreement, I'll add it. If we can turn it around, add it for March 10th board meeting.
I can do that for you tomorrow because I already sent you a draft of it. So. No, that's fine. No, but basically I can polish that based on our conversation here and put it on letterhead, sign it, and you'll have it tomorrow.
I just have a real quick question. We talked about, an overall price if you did, like, had everyone, or had it done by one company or whatever for the paving. Is it possible to bid it out both ways so you get a comparison just in case? I mean, I know with the township I was at for supervisor for Watts, we would get multiple bids, obviously, but I'm just wondering if you could do it both ways.
We could do this in that spirit. Is this parking lot circulation work would be the base bid, and then the mill and overlay work would be an alternate bid or an additional bid, and that way you can see, all right, is it worth doing all of this at once, and are we getting some level of economies of scale? Because you should. You realistically should, because if a crew is out here paving your parking lot and the new traffic area for the buses, it should be the same crew that's going to pave the roadway. So they're already moving blacktop. They already have the equipment here. You don't have to pay that additional demob fee that is thousands of dollars. Now, I can't tell you that you're going to save $500,000 if you lump them together, but you will see some level of savings.
Okay, thank you.
And any savings is good savings at the end of the day. But we could certainly do that as part of the bidding process. This is the base bid. Susquenita Drive is the additional bid.
Okay, thank you.
And most likely you're not going to have one entity that can do all this. So it's going to be a general contractor that's going to put a team together, and it's going to be multiple subcontractors that are going to do this. So you're going to have potentially an earthwork contractor, a concrete contractor, and then you're having a paving contractor, and a little, that kind of thing. So.
All right, so March, we will look at a motion to approve Pannoni Engineering for the existing condition survey, as well as engineering, design, and permitting, and construction consultation, bidding, and as-built survey. From there, we'll get a kind of a timeline based upon when our permitting comes back. Depending on what some of those results are, then we can get more of a construction timeline that we will present and ask for your approval. For phase 1, March 10th, phase 2, to be determined.
Sounds good. I appreciate it, everybody.
Thank you.
And if anything comes up, you know how to get a hold of me. Thank you.
All right, now we're going to shift gears and have some fun with fiduciary. And I think it's incredible that we started kind of in August, talking a little bit about some goals, formulating with trying to really work to put together systems and dual authorization, working very hard to really put a system in place that everybody understands when it comes to fiduciaries to be able to support them. And I commend Mr. Funk and Mr. Browse for tackling this project, and it's been certainly a project, and they've done a great job of collaborating, putting processes in place, building those processes and manuals, but now comes the next step, right, from those manuals, that ongoing training piece. The first training has conducted, and like anything else, is ongoing. So I'm going to be quiet and turn it over to Mr. Funk and Mr. Browse.
Thank you. The slide that's up there, it may look familiar to you. Back in August, we presented the board with different district level and building level goals. And this is one that I presented to you, focusing on the team, those Mr. Browse and I worked on, and regarding changing up the fiduciary procedures at the high school to improve efficiency. And we presented you with this SMART goal. As Dr. Fox said, we already had the initial meeting with advisors to go over changes we were looking at setting forth. And throughout the process, we're moving on now to the next step, sharing some more of the progress we've made towards this. So.
All right, so just kind of level setting here. There's, I mean, there is a little bit of a gray area when it comes to what people call student activities versus fiduciaries and all that. So you do have student activities, which we've already talked about in the budget process, where they're board approved and things like that. These are student activities that are labeled under the fiduciary through the section of 511 of the Commonwealth Pennsylvania Public School Code. Fiduciary student activities versus general fund activities. This is the best explanation that I could come up with. If you look at 2A there, fiduciary student activities are run by the students for the students with an advisor for support. Below is a checklist of some items to differentiate between what is a fiduciary and what is a general fund student activity. So does this direct benefit the student group as a whole? Is it a benefit for current students only? Is it an activity outside of regular curriculum? Are funds being used for a specific purpose for which they are earned? General fund student activities, which, you know, in the past, the auditors had me look at this too, because, you know, we were kind of crossing, you know, some general fund stuff in with fiduciary, are things that are supplemented by boosters or outside organizations, scholarships and awards for individual students, and then, you know, some decisions that are made by the administration or by advisors and things like that. So we really took a look at, you know, are the students making the decision on, you know, what the fundraisers are, and then what the money that comes from those fundraisers are going to be spent on. So.
Can I just pause for a minute? Just for everyone's general understanding. So anything from the school's general fund, the school district budget that the school board oversees, those accounts all have to be equal zero at the end of the fiscal year, or any excess money needs to be put into like a capital reserve or a designated reserve by the board. Or if we have a deficit, that surplus needs to be made up by the board transferring money out of one of those accounts. But a fiduciary account, the accounts you're talking about are accounts that can maintain a balance from year to year and are not funds that are garnered through taxation, but through fundraising and other things. Is that correct?
Correct, yes. It's all 100% driven by fundraisers. And then, I mean, theoretically, ideally, it'd be great if the fundraiser actually funded an expense. But yes, there can be a small balance, you know, carried forward from year to year. But it's supposed to be, you know, utilized for the students in that group or students as a whole.
So
Yep.
can I just ask just another clarifying then? So you said it's supposed to carry a small balance from year to year. So if the 12th grade class or the 11th grade class has their dues going in to whatever. Are you saying that by the end of the year, that money should be used up? Because those current students in that particular account will no longer be 11th grade students.
Ideally, yes, and that's something Mr. Funk and I are working on, doing a better job of making sure that that gets to zero or close to zero every year. Prior years, there has been balances that have kind of been rolling forward. So there is still some money in there that we're going to have to determine what to do with or how to divvy it out from prior, classes spanning back many years. But, the plan that Mr. Funk put into place is at the end of the year, it's going to be adjusted, and I believe it was for the senior trip or something like that, and some final.
Graduation photos,
And just another question then, because I don't know anything about these things, so I'm probably going to have a lot of questions. So when it says for the benefit of current students, does that mean that the fund, let's just say, for instance, like junior class fund or a senior class fund, that the monies would then have to be utilized for something that would span the whole class and not just for like a specific thing? Like, let's just say, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, like you wouldn't be able to use it to defray the cost of prom if every kid doesn't go to prom, or you can?
I think when it says that maybe it must be used for current students, it means you can't use the money to fund an alumni reunion. It has
Yeah.
to be current students who are currently attending Susquenita High School. It can be more specific groups, like to help offset things, but you can't use it to fund graduated students or students that don't go here.
Okay.
Yeah, and the idea is you don't want to have a big balance sitting in there. So like, let's say this is a seventh grade is doing a fundraiser for something, and they raise $10,000, and they only spend $4,000 of it. So that $6,000 sits in there, and it keeps building, and it's really benefiting somebody that's going to be 2 or 3 years down the road. So you want to try to keep it moving, keep the flow going, and have a plan for, hey, I'm going to do this fundraiser, and I'm going to spend it on this. I know it's not always that cut and dry. But
No, I meant more like when you do spend the money for seventh grade, is it appropriate for it to be utilized for something to which only a handful of students might benefit? Or does it have to be used on something that would, by and large, benefit the entire class?
So we'll talk about some categories on the
Okay.
next slide of how some of these.
But I will say, it could be like in seventh grade, the class of, 2035 or whatever, they could continue to roll that money over until they graduate, and then they could buy a Black Hawk for in front of the school as a class gift when they graduate or something. And then as long as it's voted on by the class officers and approved by the class of whatever. And I think every June, we approve the 3 principals as the people who are in charge of fiduciaries. So just for anyone else who's listening too, the board does not have oversight over these fiduciary accounts because they're not taxpayer funds, but each building principal is approved by the board as the keepers of the fiduciaries, correct? Is that?
Yeah, I think it starts in the middle school. I don't think we have elementary fiduciaries anymore. It's just the middle school and high school. But yeah.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so if we flip to the next slide. So these are our current classifications and our current fiduciary accounts that we have that are active and have funds in them. So you have 3 categories. You have classes, which obviously starts when you get to your freshman year. So it has your freshman through your senior, and then it has the prior year, which is kind of the rollover money just sits in there. Then you have your general student activities, which encompasses larger groups. So you have high school student advisory, you have your middle school yearbook and high school yearbook, junior National Honor Society, high school and National Honor Society, both student councils. So those are your larger groups, not your full classes, but they are much bigger in nature. And then you get into your clubs, which are more specialized to relatively small groups. So you have your A-Push, Varsity Club, Art Club, Catering Club, Nest Fund, Leo Club, Gifted, Spanish Club, Computer Club, Black Hawk Brew, Middle School Black Hawk Choir, FCCLA, and Spirit Club at the middle school. So there are still, as we talk to advisors and truly understand what's going into these clubs, there are still a couple that I have questions on that I'm not sold that they are fiduciaries, and right now they are the the Nest Fund, just so you're kind of aware of what that is. You know, they're a group that, you know, raise money and, you know, provide to people in the community. And it was brought to my attention, it's very difficult to have that student run because you want to have people remain anonymous. So again, it's a great club, it's a great group, but it's more advisor-driven than it is student-driven. So, you know, I'm thinking maybe that's something that we move over to the general fund, and you can still leave it on the balance sheet. You can still raise money, spend money, things like that. It's just not a fiduciary because it doesn't fall under our current principles of being student-run. Another one that I'm going to continue to look at or research is the middle school Black Hawk Choir. So APUSH is a group. Yes, there's an advisor that's, you know, very heavily involved, but it's still something that the students, there's a student treasurer, there's a student president, they can help make the decisions on, you know, kind of where they're going, what they're doing, the fundraisers they're doing and stuff like that. Well, that's what we're standing up. That,
They have a treasurer that does the deposits with the office and that, yes.
Yeah, but like, that's not a formal club, is it? As it stands right now, right?
As it stands now, it's a class, but they do a significant amount of fundraising
yeah,
to
right.
fund their trips. That falls more under fiduciary because it has to be students raising the money than it does the actual general fund.
So maybe eventually, and this is why we made this a goal, we figure all this out, and thank you so much, Jason and Craig. Maybe eventually it's a history club, which it's understood when the money is put in there, the APUSH people could be using the history club or whatever. So the booster organizations are not fiduciary organizations, correct?
correct.
And we had also talked at one point about having, doing something with the drama department as a fiduciary. Have we decided that we're going to start budgeting money for the musicals and plays and not entertain a fiduciary at all?
So
from them?
it was considered a fiduciary kind of in the past, and, you know, we kind of sat back and looked at, you know, how it's structured and how it's very similar to, you know, the athletics and things like that, and decided to put it into the operating budget for the general fund this year and treat it more like a,
So it was fiduciary in the past. So if they would go to Mr. Funk, say, we need, and it came out of fiduciary. Is that-
correct, yes.
And we're not, okay, we've changed that.
Yes, so.
Yeah, with talks moving to actual budgeted item, it's set, this is what you know, this is what you have, and then they are starting a booster club, which would be fiduciary to help supplement what the general fund also.
I think we, what did we, $20,000
$20,000 of expense for this upcoming year.
For both the play and the musicals combined, I think.
Correct, yes.
Is that what we did? So if they were to, I know they've explored and I think have had difficulty exploring the idea of getting a booster organization, but that would have nothing to do with like I think that's hard for them. But what if they were to do a drama club where they did fundraisers and maybe work concession stands, and that money went into a drama club fiduciary if they felt the need to try to ascertain more money than what is budgeted to them? Is that an option for them or any group in the building?
So we're not just going to kick them to the curb and say, oh, sorry, this is all you get, you're done, or whatever. So we're working with Ms. Epley to stand up this booster club. That doesn't mean that we can't have a general fund account for them temporarily.
Could any club or organization meet these guidelines to establish a fiduciary to ascertain additional monies for, let's say they want to go on a field trip, or whatever organization, or let's say say the people from the play or the musical want to raise enough money to fly Peter Pan, so, and we're not gonna budget enough, so eventually, if they have a fiduciary within 2 or 3 years, they may be able to afford something like that. If they did a club,
You gotta be very careful crossing current curriculum during the day versus, outside activities. These are all supposed to be done outside the regular school day activities. Not saying it can't be done,
If you have a
but
club period-
I'd rather
club
have
period.
have it funded through not the general fund on the balance sheet as opposed to calling it a fiduciary. unless it's something totally separate from the theater group. So if they have additional things that they're going to do that are different than the musical and the winter play.
But if you have activity periods during the school day, we have club periods, and they wanted to have a club period. No one has even asked me to say that. I'm just thinking out loud about these things, have for a long time. Like, would that might be an option? Or I guess that's what we're figuring out, right?
Yeah, this is the steps we're figuring out. Then, like Mr. Browse said, we need to explore other ones and
Right.
see what else we're doing. An option you mentioned about the theater program doing fundraisers and giving it to like a drama club, if they can get a booster club established, just like West Side or things like that, they do a lot of fundraisers. It goes into the boosters, which then would support and offset.
The only reason I ask about the boosters is, like, if my child is in field hockey and they love the sport, they may want to be in field hockey for 8 years, 4 years, but we don't know if our child is going to get a role in the play or a role in the musical. But if they are a participant in some type of a drama club and they want to be a part of that and they do activities and want to go on a field trip, even though they can't sing well enough to be in the choir, but are still part of the drama club. To me, that's very different than a booster organization, because parents aren't necessarily going to get behind an organization where they don't know from year to year if their kid's going to have a part. That's why in my mind, I keep thinking it's difficult in differentiating it, because usually if you're in a sport, you're in it for a couple years, and the parents are usually in it too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm not real familiar with theater. I mean, I've had, conversations with Miss Epley, and I think a lot of times it is the same students, but we can continue to have further conversations with her. She didn't feel that it was, obviously she's having trouble maybe finding volunteers to create the Booster Club, but she's not opposed to the idea and is familiar with it.
If the purpose of it is to be able to have some flexibility with some finances, I would think a fiduciary would benefit them better. But I don't know, just throwing it out there.
Yeah, and the only real difference, right, when we look at that fiduciary is those GASB guidelines of not having administrative involvement with the assets. So students will kind of operate all aspects when it comes to the procurement of where those funds are directed.
The principal's oversight, right?
With the advisor's oversight and ultimately the principal's sign-off, correct?
Go ahead, Ms. Loeb. So what we have, yeah, it's tiny. I wanted to get it on there, but I think they have hard copies. So Mr. Browse created a book, I guess a handout, an in-depth handout of fiduciary. This is sort of a one-page summary that we'll be sharing with advisors to help review what's pretty much summarizes the book that Mr. Browse put together about fiduciaries. This is a one-page guideline that can be a quick reference and that we can share with the advisors.
Were you going to cover this last slide?
Yeah, certainly, I can cover the next slide. And I think this handout is really good, both of them. I think this longer handout is really a kind of a guide. It's not only just a guide when it comes to finances, but it's a guide that can help organizations and clubs kind of run and organize a meeting. And I think it's a really great tool for them to be able to use and kind of review and have students review it, since it's about the students and the students using that to be able to organize and run and function within the onsets of their meetings. The next steps, kind of looking at this, or some future next steps, is we really want you to take a deep dive into that draft manual. See if there's anything in there that you have questions on. Take it, please review it, mark it up. See if there's any feedback that you have, and we'll collect that feedback and review it. One of the aspects we need to do is we have a kind of a dated policy from the 1980s. I do love the 1980s, but the policy is a little older, and that policy is 618. And we want that policy to represent what we're doing here within some of these regulations and procedures to reflect some of those needed changes that are in there. So that's on our policy to-do list for the future. So when we say 618, that's labeled under student activities, and that's going to help provide those lanes for operation as we move forward.
I have a question. So on number 7, excuse me, losing my voice, maybe that's a sign. I should stop talking. Anyway, number 7 where it has the never list. So why is it taboo for these to be not done with student fiduciary, but yet we're able to do it through boosters, where the kids are fundraising for that as well? Like what, can you explain or what the difference?
So I think this is just to eliminate the commingling of the general fund versus the fiduciary. So like the stipends for the advisors and stuff like that is paid out of the general fund and not a fiduciary. You're not supposed to. I mean, I think this is kind of why, I'm leaning against having a theater club, because you're not supposed to use a club to bypass the budget cut. So it's supposed to be in the general fund budget, or it's supposed to be a club where you fundraise and spend and have a plan for what you're going to spend that fundraising money on. So
No, I think, so yeah, I understand that, but I guess what I'm asking is, why doesn't a booster club, because that also entails students raising money and fundraising, why are they able to pay for coaches and officials? Why are they able to give out scholarships? Why are they allowed to do that?
why are boosters allowed to do
Yeah.
that? I mean, they're their own independent. They're allowed to make decisions, based on what they want to do. This is two different funds within the school district, the way that I understand
Yeah,
it.
I understand that. I just was wondering if you knew why there's the criteria that says student-earned money cannot be used for these things under fiduciary accounts, but yet students can fundraise through a booster organization, which is within the school, approved by the school, and they're able to pay coaches, provide scholarships or whatever.
I
That's what was
do not know off the top of my
Do
head. I'll have to look that up.
boosters use their own EIN versus the
Yes.
fiduciary, which would be
They're-
our, so that might be why. They're the
They're
different.
their own entity. Fiduciaries are run by, correct.
They have their own bylaws
But I struggle too with that whole bypassing, and maybe it's the wording, of budget cuts. What if, a club, what if a club wants the board to buy them something and we're like, no, but they want to buy it themselves. I don't, because and the students vote to get it, like, I don't see that as bypassing.
So I don't see that as a
Budget
budget
cuts.
cut. I think it's if it was totally eliminated and it was the only way to be able to fund it. I think not approving something or an item is not necessarily a cut as much as it is just being prudent. I think the total elimination, I think, the idea that's probably used quite often, right, is the idea of supplanting versus supplementing. And I think it's okay to supplement, just not supplant.
I guess, again, I don't know why, I'm just advocating for the drama people, but like, if they want to purchase something and they need to get like background stuff or whatever, it's gonna be more than the $10,000 or $20,000 that's in the budget, and they have that money in a fiduciary so they can afford to buy something. I don't see that as supplanting or bypassing the district's budget. I see that as them being able to go above and beyond, by their own efforts of like fundraising.
And I think that's the good reason to get that booster club, to be able to go and say, hey, we're really doing this, and we didn't realize the actualization of the cost of A, B, and C, and we want, E, F, and G, and this is where the boosters could come in, to try to help that remaining aspect of it. Because in a fiduciary, really, it's the students who will vote on it, and the students could absolutely say, yeah, that's great, but we didn't really want to have that
So
play
is
in the
that
first place.
ultimately the difference? The booster club is the parents make the decision where the money goes, and in the fiduciary club, the students have to make the money where where it goes.
I believe so.
I also, the 1099 reporting, I think that changed to $2,000 for 2026.
Well, this is fantastic. I think we all need to learn a little more about what fiduciary is. And I can only imagine on the back end, Jason, that you have created all kinds of documents where all these things are being tracked very clearly, and that's great.
Yeah, it's been a lot of reconciliation over the last couple of years, working with the advisors, making sure that their file matches the district office files, and the timing that's involved with that. I mean, they update their spreadsheet, but till, we pay it or get the deposit in and things like that, there's a timing difference, so it's fun working with them, understanding that. And at the end of the year, doing the reconciliation of, their report to our report financially. I'm hoping to really get the opportunity to meet with the student treasurer. Right now, I'm just working with the advisors just because we're drinking through a fire hose right now. But eventually, I'd like to sit down with the treasurers of some of these groups and, maybe teach them a thing or two about accounting.
One other thing I don't know if it's addressed in here is back in the day, and I don't think it exists anymore, Giant used to do Giant A+ program. Do you remember that? I don't think they do that anymore. You could sign up, and you would get this. The district would get this big check. That money all used to go into student fiduciary. Let's assume they were doing that again. I guess I don't know if it's addressed in this anywhere. Where would that go within the student fiduciary if something like Giant A+ were to give funds for that? It used to go into this, I think, just the student advisory. And then it had to be used, we would buy, like, the kids would decide to buy furniture for the library or something that would benefit the whole school, or signs for the light posts in the parking lot. So if indeed that kind of an opportunity comes up where money is given to us by Sheets or something, just figuring out where that would fall within the student advisory. I don't know if that's addressed
When the
in here.
Giant came in, did it only go to the high school?
Yes.
Well, that wasn't very
I don't
fair.
remember I don't remember the middle school getting it. Did the middle school do it?
You designated by school, though?
Oh,
Okay.
elementary, oh, so, never mind. I'm just most familiar with them, but, so anyway, thinking about if something like that happens again, where would that money go within the fiduciary?
So, I mean, that could go a bunch of different ways. I mean, in the past, it may have went into the fiduciary, but now it could go into the general fund and just go into the principal contingencies, and, they can, determine, how to spend that amongst their students of their buildings. I mean, I would like, if it's a fiduciary, maybe I know Black Hawk Brew and stuff like that, does a lot with, local grocery stores and stuff like that. Maybe they can, link up some sort of fundraiser and say, hey, can we work together to do this? And then it would go directly back to them. And then there are the bigger organizations, that Mr. Funk has, Student Advisory and stuff like that, where if he can spread it amongst the entire student body, if he has something that could be a place that it could go as well. So it could go multiple
So maybe
ways.
we need to ask Sheets or Wegmans or whoever this to go, because someone would have to make that decision. Could go to the student, awards program at the end of the year, could whatever.
I think one of the closest examples that happens now is the Anovo station up on. They donate usually every year. We get a grant for $500, and it has to go towards something in the math and science. So they designate it. It has to be used somehow in that realm. So this year it did. In the past, since we're moving things over, in the past it had gone into fiduciary It was in the general student fund, and we knew that had to be designated for a science and math realm, where now it goes into the general fund tagged, and
So, just another question, maybe this is off topic, but it could be the next exploration. So in terms of booster clubs, do they fall under our audit? Because I know that they turn in their financials to Scott or whatever, Go ahead.
You are the auditors for them. And at any point with Board Policy 915, you can ask for an independent audit based upon any of the results that come through that Scott may review. And ultimately then it gets funneled up to us, we may review, and ultimately you, who may look at it and say, I think that this organization, based upon what we see in these financials, it's time for an independent audit.
So are you saying that every year I know we've seen some, are we seeing every booster club come through every annual year
You
that we
should
can
be
look at?
seeing every booster club annually every year's financials.
Do you know if we have been? Like, have you been
I
getting
will not
them?
answer that question to say the word yes.
Okay.
But I know we've seen several of them come through. That is part of the board policy, that you are annually to see their financial statements, correct?
I'm just wondering if that might be another area that should we be making sure that they're all turning them in, and
And that, there is a timeline on that as well. So it's typically, they would turn them in at the end of the year, end of the fiscal year, and we would review those, I believe in August, I think is when we typically get those.
I don't review them. I don't know if the athletic director does, but to answer your initial question, no, they are not part of our
Okay.
audit through Tony.
Okay.
So,
But not to get too much into weeds, but those, as well as the fiduciary accounts, should be, there was a meeting and it was called to order, and we said, let's spend $10 on this. Do I have a first or second? And it has to be approved, even with the fiduciaries, correct? That should be happening. You should have minutes. for all
correct.
that.
That's what we're trying to stand up. It
And
hasn't always been done that way, but that's part of what
Okay.
we're trying to do here. And the fiduciary is audited by our own
I
independent
hate
auditors.
all that,
so.
but the accountability is real important, so appreciate that.
Correct.
so Dr. Fox, do you know when those booster clubs are typically due?
I'm looking through that policy right now. It says a financial report will be submitted to the organization's administrative liaison no later than July 31st of each year for review by the board.
July 31st, okay.
That's correct. And then typically, we don't have a July meeting, so that's probably why we put them on August.
Okay.
And board policy 915 is really a solid policy. It does talk about organizations will comply with the solicitation of funds to the Charitable Purposes Act, and that's certainly listed there as well. So it does a pretty nice job of talking about that, and, not permitted to use our own district tax-free number for purchases. So really applying as an independent organization, but they only operate because you allow them to operate.
So they have their own EIN? Are they registered as a nonprofit?
Some
and
are.
Do we get verification then that they've filed their 990s every year?
So they're responsible here for the Commission of Charitable Organizations, Department of State, and Charitable Non-for-Profit Organization, that they will follow the IRS state reporting requirements. Do we get verification on that? That's part of being an independent organization. Here in our board policy, that we receive a kind of an overview of their financial statements, as well as at any point we can ask for their bylaws, and we've have done that in the past. Because again, at any point, the athletic director or the building principals could come forward and say, I have questions on A, B, and C booster organization, and at any point, you as a board can say, we believe they're in violation of Board 915. Here are the steps we wish to take to either A, rectify that organization, or B, place that organization temporary status, or B, dissolve that organization based upon continuation of findings.
So, and if we're approving them, shouldn't each one of their reports should be linked through for public consumption, right?
That is correct, and that's how they have been sent before. You'll see it by the name of the organization and a financial report. There is no standard template that is used.
Right.
If that's something that you want, we certainly can do that, but I think they kind of all just kind of show what's in versus what's out. And that's something as we move forward that we'll remind organizations of that deadline and that board policy. All right, if there's no more fiduciary questions, I'm going to rock and roll with this one a little bit quicker because a lot of this is kind of redundant information, but I think you're going to hear a lot of redundancy from me over the next couple of months. April, May, June, and again in August, because I think it's important that you hear at caucus some construction and project updates. As best that we can, the most information that we can provide, providing it to you and to anybody from the general public who's listening and wants to see this information. And we can certainly, continue to provide those updates. So just a project overview from March of 2026. The second slide is just kind of a nice graphic that shows kind of repairing the nest, our district-wide facility modernization plan. This was a nice kind of depiction. I put some information in and was able to use Notebook LM to create and generate this graphic organizer. So I'm really into kind of graphic organizers because it helps me kind of spatially look at where this information is. And here, looking at our middle school comprehensive upgrades, looking at some of our high school and elementary improvements as well. So rocking and rolling, the next step is, why do we conduct these projects? Well, I'm not going to go into too many of this information, but the feasibility studies were key. We conducted 2 feasibility studies over the course of 3 years that were conducted. The most recent being conducted by an independent engineering firm with the help of Pannoni. The studies revealed overall condition of the buildings was solid and good, but there were certain areas that needed to have improvements on because of some deferred maintenance and some need throughout. And from there, we began to really interview, solicit, and follow all the GISA laws for the selection of our Guaranteed Energy Savings Service, agreement with the ESCO company, Quandel, and that took several months. A very long process, at which time a lot of people here were involved in that process as we looked through and had some pretty in-depth conversations using a pretty robust rubric. So I'm proud of the point that we're at right now, and it excites me to see that information that was on paper now start to take shape. So how are we financing this information? Well, back in 2024, the district, we procured a $15 million small bank loan. That small bank loan was derived for 2 main purposes. Purpose number 1 was immediate, and that was for $1.38 million, which was our contribution that we signed through part of our participation through the Articles of Agreement to expand the Cumberland Perry Career and Technical Center, and that construction is currently ongoing right now as we speak. The other aspect was for us as an organization to take care of some deferred maintenance and feasibility needs that we have based upon those studies. One of the aspects that's important is because of that, there are some IRS rules that need to be adhered to, and we're fortunate to be able to arbitrage some funds along the way, but by 2027, the projects have to be obligated. At least 72%, I believe, is the number, roughly, for those projects to be obligated. So some construction updates. We're looking at mobilization to begin in April. And when we say mobilization, you'll start to see some signage through campus that says deliveries, it says project being done by Quandel and Pyramid, deliveries here, equipment here, kind of spattered throughout campus, because again, that's going to start that process of scaling up, because as soon as our students and staff leave, it's going to be time to rock and roll, because time is of the essence. We'll see some job trailers, also some C-cans being dropped throughout campus as well as we begin that mobilization. Permits were sought and secured, and there'll be a construction office trailer that will be on site in early April over by the elementary school as well, that will serve as the base for our superintendent, who will be overseeing the project. I know, too many superintendents, makes me a little nervous. I might. We do have hard hats. So really, overall, we're going to close down the middle school this summer, and our middle school administrators and office staff are going to be relocated to the high school library. We're going to be sharing some spaces. We're going to work on making sure our phones are routed to those areas and they have all the equipment that they need to continue to work through the summer on those important tasks. Our IT team will be relocated to the elementary school library. Attendance registration and PIM staff will work from the elementary school conference room, or a room that's in the elementary school that serves as a conference room. And one of the aspects that's important here is we're looking at some possibility of some second shift, doing some selected work in the hallways that may begin in April. So what they're going to do is pull down the tiles, begin to tidy up some of that conduit and wire that's there, put those tiles back up as they begin that process, so they have that step being taken care of. So when they begin to pull those tiles down, they're ready to go. So as JT spoke, we have ongoing weekly meetings. We track everything through a construction website or system called Procore. Our meeting notes are in there, timeline is in there, clearances, materials, they're all in there and secure. So some next steps that we need to do is we need to do our final color selection of the exterior at the high school. We did find out that the logo that's depicted in that rendering is actually going to be painted on the building. So our S-Claw logo, instead of just being a graphic, is actually going to be painted on, which is great. And actually, we also found out that the entire building is going to be painted. So I was under the impression it was just certain areas, so that's great as well. And accent colors will be added. So what we're going to do is they're going to come out when the weather breaks and it becomes nice and it's not as muddy mess out there. And we did ask them, they're going to apply some colors to the building. After I did say no initially, I think the answer was no way, right? And I did, and I apologize. I was wrong. And we'll ask you to take a look at those when they apply those to see what it actually looks like on the building to pick those final color patterns for the district colors of the building.
Marcy's gonna park herself out so she can see it in all lighting all the time of day.
You don't want a giant gray green building.
I hear you, sister.
It's all fair. Next project that we're working on is our high school selected renovations, and that project is right now out to bid. So we're excited to say that if you looked at the advertisements, they're in the Duncannon Record. They are in the system that RLPS uses to push out for construction. So those full bids are publicly advertised. We're going to have a pre-bid meeting on March the 12th. There'll be bid openings. It's a public meeting. It will occur on March 26th of 2026 at 2 o'clock in the district office. We'll go down into room 133 in the middle school. We'll sign in, go into that meeting, call the meeting to order, and begin the process of opening bids. I think it's really important if you're interested to come. You're more than welcome. It shouldn't be a very long meeting, but it'll be interesting. We'll take those bids, the lowest responsible bid, to you at the April meeting. We'll discuss them in caucus and then look for your consideration and approval depending on how those bids come back at the April board meeting. Just some selected renovations and color selection. One of the things that we did make a slight modification on was inside of that flex room, there was a graphic on the back wall. And that back wall actually is an exterior wall, so they recommend not putting that vinyl on that back wall because of peeling and the changing of temperature, so that's going to be omitted. But the graphic will be placed here, and the graphic will also be placed over by the athletic director's office. There will and has been an ad based upon some feedback we received, as well as trying to maximize the amount of space and the multi-purposeness of spaces. This is inside what we would call kind of that, it's another multi-purpose room across from the current athletic director's room. It's currently the graphics room right now. There, to the right-hand side will be the restroom, left-hand side changing room. And having two areas isn't always going to work, right, when you're trying to make quick adjustments for the play and making quick costume changes that may be elaborate. So with that, we've asked them to build in, and they're going to put in 4 kind of, as you would see in a department store style changing rooms with curtains, so they can go in and use those. They can remain open. They're not going to take a lot of space up, but it gives that functionality as well to be used in there. One of the considerations is this type of mirror. It's backlit. It's going to provide less shadows, going to provide some nice area throughout this green room for individuals to be able to apply makeup, hair, the things necessary to get ready, as well as underneath that lightning stripe, if you will, or strip that goes underneath it for electricity. Even the coloration, that's not the coloration, but the style of paint was taken into consideration. So looking at the smallest of detail, we wanted a flat paint rather than something that's a little more glossy, because we didn't want shadows to be bouncing off the walls as people begin to prepare. So the light is going on the person, not reflecting and coming back with shadows from those mirrors. So I learned a lot about those aspects, and I thought that was a great small added feature. Some of the casework, you'll see this solid countertop, which is really nice. A little more costly, but very nice, is going to be added to the green room. It's durable, it's heat resistant, cleans up nice, not going to see scratches. You spill something on there, no worries, it's going to be cleaned up pretty quickly and pretty easily. This laminate countertop will be used in the flex space. We're not too worried because shouldn't be a lot of heat onto that area. It's still going to be able to be durable, a little less expensive. And then the cabinetry is going to be this plastic laminate that'll match into these areas located here.
Can I
Next.
Just a quick question, like the laminate, like, where did that selection color come from? Like, is it?
It
did
came
they
from
provide
their
it?
interior designers.
Okay.
And again, looking at something that was a little more cost-effective and stock option versus something I think that was a little more custom. So looking at mostly the cost side of things, because that solid countertop is, they're the ones we're using actually in the restrooms here at the high school as well, and there's definitely a cost increase to those.
Not loving the color with the cabinets. That's what I guess I'll just say that.
Can always go back and ask them for
Liam,
additional different colors.
There must be like I don't know, whatever color you call that, like as a color that you can't really see in this picture, somewhere in those, hoping. Like, it's like a fleck or a swirl in those, but yeah.
Well, I think we can go to the next slide and see if we can get some paint from your, so here's where that participation comes into play.
Oh, now you want to know.
Absolutely. So there are some color choices when we look at what could be the main colors will be on the left-hand side, which is your agreeable gray, to your keystone gray, to your adventure orange, or your papaya. Those are kind of some selections based upon the recommendations.
Where are they going?
So
Colors of what?
these will be colors inside of the rooms. These will be colors inside of the flex space. These will be colors inside of the green room. And the accent wall will be one separate wall. They'll be inside of the athletic director's office.
I love it. I like
I'll do it for free.
What's that?
The top two is great. Yes. You gotta have orange.
If anybody would like, there's a ton of different Sherman-Williams color schemes really out there, and you can really get lost in there, and it's just amazing the amount. And really, if there's a small little ad hoc that wants to pick a couple colors that you want me to go back and ask them to kind of look at a color scheme sample, I'm fine with that. I will be 100% honest. This is not really my. I don't. Yeah.
Can you do me a favor? Can you go back just?
Mm-hmm.
Go look at. So I guess, did you see those or were you only presented a computer?
Only the computer version. I did not see a physical chip of those, no. I can certainly ask for those if we would like those.
I could probably go find
Yeah.
it, but I will be on that ad hoc.
Okay.
Great.
No, I mean, I think looking at those paint and picking two colors, one being an accent color And one being the main color is fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
I vote Leanne and Marcy.
Dr. Fox, similar to the exterior painting, we could ask them to put that on a wall that's going to be refurbished.
Absolutely. If you come up with a couple that you like, we could certainly ask them to get some samples, and we can, right now, the room's not being used, we can throw some paint on the wall. I'll do it.
One time you and I had talked about an orange, whether we use it here or in the other drama rooms, that we have this Susquenita orange, that's the standard color. Was that entertained at all as
Yes, so it
accent color?
was, but we were afraid it was a little too bright. Because
Okay.
it is a little brighter of an orange, and thought, especially, as you start getting into some of those smaller rooms, thought it might be a little too dominant.
Okay.
But I could be absolutely wrong. I mean,
Yeah, it's hard, and again, just knowing, I was doing a lot of this paint selection thing.
Yeah.
Looking off of a computer and off of they're not representative at all of what it looks like in real life. So even getting a paint chip or this small square from Home Depot is completely different than what you see on
Yeah.
here. So when they're saying the cabinetry is going to be plastic laminate, so, and it says Formica on the bottom, are they, what are they doing with that? Just putting that on plywood to make the cabinetry, or
correct.
is that what it is?
It's either a hard board or a plywood base cabinet, it's not a solid wood, and then they're adhering that to the outside for the durability and the cleaning ability associated with it. And
So if you're picking any, if you go to look at any Formica, as long as it's within the right grading, like because there's classifications of Formica, they could put that on.
they'll put whatever we want on it, it's just a matter of that they're ironing with as a color scheme and palette to work with.
And trying to really keep prices
Yeah, for sure.
as stable
Yeah, keeping
as
it within
possible.
their grade of
Yeah,
laminate.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And knowing full well that if something breaks, because it will over time, then we might be able to get a standard stock and be able to fix that so it
Yeah.
matches the best it can.
Okay.
All right, so we'll get some different colors for the paint. We'll kind of narrow that down a little bit. Give me just a couple that I can give to them, and we'll kind of go from there. And we have some time, because again, getting those bids back, end of March. But I think that would probably be a good timeline, end of March, because it April-ish as we start to get that information. The next is 2 selections for the flooring. This will be the flooring that will be, it's an epoxy style floor, cleans up and is very durable. Will be used throughout except for in the athletic director's office, I believe.
When you say it's an epoxy floor, is that like the poured
Yes.
epoxy floor that then, okay.
It has an anti-slip resin to it as well. I particularly like option A over option A1. Judging by the laughs, I'm seeing I picked the wrong choice. That A1 is the right option. It doesn't dominate as much, so that's the one we'll go with. You guys tell me. That's why there's 2. Which version do we like?
You know, to be honest, like, that's another thing, it's almost like you need to sort of see it in the context of the cabinets and the walls and everything else. One, maybe you might be right.
We could probably ask them to put a rendering together. It's not, I mean, obviously it's going to be a rendering. I mean, this is an epoxy poured floor that they then broadcast the chips over and then they seal over top of it. So it's not exactly we're going to get a 5-foot area done. It would look very similar to it has a terrazzo look, yes, but it's with the modern epoxy instead of a terrazzo pour.
I just feel like it's a lot of orange and gray yeah, it's like we tried to match the orange and gray and just throw a lot of orange and gray at it. Sorry.
So it definitely cleans up nice. It's pretty durable. It's going to be a nice style flooring in that regard. So definitely, consider these two when you look at the different colors in our color ad hoc committee. We'll kind of look at those to match them. I mean, honestly, to see if there's anything else that maybe will tone these down a little bit, because you figure it's going to be a pretty big area with that on the floor. And then what do we want on the walls? Is there anything that's a little more lighter that maybe takes that tone down a little bit and makes it less busy?
I might consider taking the orange out of the floor and doing like a black and white and gray, without those orange flecks, especially if you're putting orange on the walls and then you're trying to have beigey kind of honey-colored cabinets with a gray countertop. But again, I'd have.
Okay, so to be determined based upon color selection, whether we orange or not orange.
Oh, hey,
Or gray?
Listen, we're spending how much money? We get to pick.
We may, at the next discussion point, we could have the interior designer come in and explain why she selected the color palette that she did, and then take your feedback and adjust accordingly. Just a thought. I'm colorblind, I don't see it, so.
All right, so option A or option A1 is to be determined based upon the color selected in the color selection sample, which I think will be good, because then we'll know whether to tone it up or tone it down. The next is just a carpet tile, so there's one selection. There's the existing tile to the right. The new tile does have a little bit of an orange lead in it. This is what's going to be in the athletic director's office. It's awesome. I look forward to this color tile. Very good. All right.
I noticed how quickly you went through that.
It's a standard stock tile, yeah. And we'll get some in stock as well, some attic stock left in the event you need to replace a carpet tile here or there. I think that is a good color.
Well, and it is nice because then if something happens, you can replace just one tile as opposed to the whole.
We've been using that a lot in our elementary and a lot of spaces, as well as our district office, for that same reason. Plus, you can do some really neat patterns with those also.
Yeah.
Next steps is we're going to take a look at selections of some colors, finding those two colors. From those colors, then we'll be able to look at what do we want in terms of floor. And there's a lot of different epoxy options. So feel free to say, based on these colors, these are some colors we'd like to see in the epoxy. And they can bring back those renderings to us. So just because I liked it doesn't mean it's what we need to go with. It's okay.
So
I've only spent hours on it.
I do have a question. You should have known better. So I didn't think you picked them. I thought they were picked for you by the interior designer. Was that a Freudian slip?
I 100% had input into them, yes.
Okay, I do have a question though. The Corian versus the Formica, where was the Corian going and where was the Formica going?
Yeah, Formica going in that flex room, so there's currently an existing small small counter that's there. That counter is old and needed some attention. So that's going to be replaced, and that's where the Formica is going. The solid state Corian is going to go into the green room that's going around where the student performers will be seated to apply hair, makeup, and anything they need to get ready.
So was there any thought about the fact that you have a white countertop solid surface where you're going to have people putting on makeup for a drama regularly in that area.
Yeah, we talked a lot about that actually, and that was never like a concern, I think because of the fact of that countertop cleaning up so quickly. And I think they wanted something that didn't bring shadows as well too. Because we did spend a lot of time talking about makeup and makeup application and what that looked like, didn't we?
Yes.
So, do you know on a solid surface, do you have to treat those or put a sealant on those? Does anybody know? I don't think so. No. I mean, I think that's an option too, if we wanted to look at those and you wanted to see different options of what a solid option would look like. I'm sure there's a multitude of different options. That's okay. Got to see what the colors and what you would want to see in that room and what might be good for cleanup and what doesn't, because it is a small area, and what doesn't, take away from creating any shadows, anything that takes away from that. We want that focus to be in front. All right. Well, thank you very much. We'll make sure. Thank you to the group that's going to take a look at some colors for us, and we'll get those information out to RLPS. That'll be good for those next steps. We'll come back, provide some updates, probably a little less of an update. I'll still continue to try to touch on that why, because I think it's important as we move forward. We'll do that at the April caucus meeting. Any public comment? And let me take a moment to see if there's any public. There is no public comment electronically. Thank you for looking. Hearing none. Is there anything final? Anything else at this time? Lots of topics tonight. Appreciate everybody's time. I thought it was an excellent meeting. Thank you for all that you do, and we'll see you shortly. Thank you.